I have to apologize that I don't have the video working. I've got this bracket for dual screens, and I just use some old monitors, and they don't even have video cameras on them. So
You see a really weird ghostly shadow.
yeah.
Jess, are you going to share your screen? Is that how we're going to do this?
Okay, we're live.
So I think we had talked about Staffy or Rocky sharing their screen.
Yeah, that's fine. I don't know.
I can do that.
Okay, Mike, I think we're live.
Oh, good. Hey, it's Michael Harden. It's a special meeting to discuss the budget workshop for the coming fiscal year. It seems all we're missing is, who are we missing? Eric. Everybody else is here. Rocky, Stathi, welcome. One of you guys want to share your screen and we'll get right into it. I want to go over what we've done so far. There we go.
Is it large enough?
Yes.
So Jess, how do you want to start? Just get right into it?
Yeah, so basically, I think that where we are right now with the city is that we are in a bit of a unique place this year, I think, for a few reasons. One is that we are obviously dealing with the COVID pandemic, which everybody else is. So I think that will help us to look a little bit further into operating capital. The second piece is that we have a new CFO who's been on board with the city for the last year and a half or so, and he's been thinking about the budget process a little bit differently. So we're taking operating and capital together through the process this year, as opposed to prior years where we were working on operating first and then capital second. I would say that the other piece is that I've talked to Mike quite a bit about the process before and how budgets were brought to the Norwalk Parking Authority. And we wanted to bring it to you earlier rather than later in the process so we can walk through each of the line items and talk about it in a workshop process that includes everybody so that we know where we're at, not only on the revenue side, but also on the expense side as well. So, and then the last piece I would say is that usually we have our workshop meetings in January, but I believe that the city's taken an approach where we're looking at the operating and capital together in an earlier, much earlier than we were before. So, so that's the reason for the meeting today, and I'll turn it over to Mike. And Mike, you can kick it off however you'd like, but that's where we are from the city standpoint.
Okay, that's no problem. Did you guys get a chance to look this over? I guess we got Tom and Judd with us. Judd, you still with us? Yeah, I see you. That's okay. I think the best thing to do is kind of start with any questions you may or may not have. The budget took quite a jump from 20 to 21, from 5.5 million to 7.1, which I don't think we're going to get into right now, but it's been reduced a bit going into 22. Stath, can you give me a quick where we're at with this year's budget COVID wise? I did see that on a different screen. I keep trying to click this page, but it's your shared screen, so I can't move it.
So yeah, so I can give you a little history. So this screen is probably the best screen to be tab to be starting with, and this is kind of typically where we get to with the notes from all the line items to help support kind of your decision making. And then as we get through it, as things come up where you want to see some changes or drill down into it, we can either do that like here, or Rocky's got it up on his side. So if we need to drill down, and we can kind of answer some questions or make some changes as we go along, just to see what impacts would be, or we can just keep it as it is and come back, because we're going to have more than one of these budget workshops. So I'm glad Jess has started this earlier, so everybody can be a part of kind of the process. So let me just start from the top. We'll start on the revenue side. So the first column is actuals from last year. So that is obviously, way off. That ended this past June. So we had, the whole COVID impact that started in mid-February.
Right.
And we had April and May that was free parking. So that's why revenue is way off compared to this current budget that we're in now, which is the next column, of 7 million. So the actuals are, we don't have a column here for where we project fiscal year 21 to end, which is going to be, in another 8 months. So that's something that we would, that's something when we go through the financial reports and the operations report tomorrow and every month, you'll see kind of where we stand right there. So it's safe to say that when we get to fiscal year 22, which is going to start next July, 8 months from now, we make some assumptions based on coming back. Now that we know that there's a not an antidote, but there's a vaccine. We're hopeful that it'll get people back to somewhat near pre-COVID levels, but you'll see we're not quite there. We're basically at about 95% of where we think we were pre-COVID. So that's kind of if there's an overarching theme on the revenue side, we think we'll be back to 95% of pre-COVID in fiscal year 22. Not because we can't get back to pre-COVID levels. We just think that things have changed so much. There's going to be a new way of doing business that is going to just last through the pandemic. So we think there's going to be new ways that people are going to do business, and that's going to be reflected in our numbers and our operations.
Right. And just so Tom and Judd understand that Rocky Stothy, Jess, and I had a long conversation about COVID, and the assumption basically that we're making is that there won't be an impact for this budget in 2020 in 22, and we built the budget like there wasn't really. We have shaved a lot of little things and cleaned it, I think, really nicely, but basically kept it whole. And if there were to be, more impact from COVID, then we would deal with it in the same exact way we dealt with it this year, by cutting back and reducing when we needed to. So that's why you're seeing, a budget that basically looks unaffected from the pandemic.
So we're assuming that this V-shaped recovery is actually going to happen. I think the signs have been there leading up till now, so we don't have any reason to believe that it won't, continue. And because it's 8 months out from now, I think it's a reasonable assumption. But you're the decision makers on this budget, so if the majority think otherwise, we can make adjustments to see where it could be. So that's where we are. Obviously, we have other revenue from these other line items that we plugged in as well. They aren't as significant as the monthly and transient revenue from operations, but One note on the lease income at Yankee Doodle, we had a typo here. So what Jessica sent around, what we sent her, had the wrong number in here. It was like 12,000, which didn't add up to this. So on the revenue side, we're still going to be off about 2.5% budget to budget. And let's see, what else can we really talk about? If you want me to go through each line item, we can. Otherwise, if the notes are confusing or if they're clear, we can continue.
Hold on. I'm having trouble with my computer. I'm trying to re-enlarge this.
Steffi, what's the art program MG 50% reduction due to reduced art program? What revenue do we get through the art program?
So we have a curator for the Maritime Garage art gallery.
Yeah, Bob. Yep.
When they sell artwork, the parking authority gets a small commission.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, that's better.
I didn't realize that there was a percentage that the
so we have
already received
kind of an agreement with them. Can't remember. I have to pull it up, but basically every month people actually do look forward to it. They do come and visit and look at the artwork under the new program.
Yep.
Yeah, so it is kind of an event when there's an opening. Any other questions on revenues?
Revenue questions, I don't know. But there are a few questions. Just let me get this out. I was on the, it's not on this page. It's on the other budget narrative page, but it's, let me see if I can find it here on my copy. I just wanted to review the city, the personnel benefits allocated by the city, City of Norwalk contractual obligations. I just want to review that number. It's 650,862.
That's down here on the city administered expenses.
Yeah, I was under the isn't that one of the lines, Jessica, that you and I spoke about, that we wanted to break out and put not only the actual people that are involved with that, but also push it out 5 years? And do you want to explain that briefly?
Yeah, so I think 650 is a bit high. So there are three numbers that are missing currently from this budget, and they are all my responsibility to provide Laz, Staffy, and Rocky with those numbers. So the first is the personnel benefits number, and as folks know, we had early retirement with the city, so a number of different employees left, and we are looking to hire folks back on. And in some case, not in every case, but in some cases, what's happened is that employees who retired were at the highest pay bracket, and when they retired, we plan on backfilling their positions with folks that come in at a lower grade in the pay scale grade. So I think the 650 is high because I do believe that not in all of those positions, but in some of those positions, we're going to be replacing staff at a lower salary. So the way in which the parking authority has reimbursed the city or has supplemented the city's personnel, wage, and salaries line in the past is that there are a handful of city employees that are that focus specifically on the parking authority work, and a portion of their salary is covered by the parking authority. So it may be 50%, it may be 25%, it could be 10%, so on and so forth. So the one number that needs to be sent from our office to Staffy and Rocky is that wages and salaries / personnel benefits line. What Mike is talking about is that usually what ends up happening is that we go through an annual budget exercise such as this, and we look at the line item and we decide you decide as the parking authority what that line should look like. And what Mike and I have talked about is that, you know, it really is in probably the best interest of the parking authority and the best interest of the city to be able to look at what that number is, or look at least the employees that are receiving that supplemental income, you know, the supplemental income from the Norwalk Parking Authority, and decide 5 years at a time what that number should look like, or what the parking authority feels its resources should look like. And the reason for that is that, you know, it would be very unfortunate and extremely disheartening if we were to go through this budget exercise and the parking authority decided to zero out that line item, or to reduce that line item to the extent that we have city staff that are working on parking authority projects, and, you know, and the city would need to step up and then fill the salary gap, but also reallocate the work. The second reason is that from a parking authority standpoint, you understand what resources you have allocated to your work, who you're working with from the city standpoint, and also what that line item looks like as far as an expense goes in the budget moving forward. So what Mike and I had talked about was that we feel like it's mutually beneficial to be able to understand sort of who the parking authority is funding, what that $650,000 is getting the parking authority, and be able to lock into a number or lock into those positions for maybe a 5 or 10 year time period, instead of going over this annually and determining if we think that number is appropriate or not. So as Staffy said, we're going to be having multiple workshops for the operating and capital budget, but that 650 number, I think, is one that we need to talk about. I think it's a little high given the turnover at City Hall. And second, I think that we should probably figure out some sort of agreement to lock into that amount for an extended period of time.
So these numbers that I've highlighted are just placeholders. These are last year's numbers.
Right. No, I think that's fine as long as it's a little bit high, and we've covered it. Then yeah, we'll get a little tighter as we go through the motions here. But I just wanted to make sure that we have that, and I wanted the guys to hear the explanation as well, because I know we want to try to get a 5-year look at this so that nobody's stuck.
Yeah, so I think the other piece of it too is that in previous years, when the TMP operations budget was proposed, there was also a traffic engineer position that was added to the TMP roster. And part of that was asking the Norwalk Parking Authority to pay 50% of that brand new position, the traffic engineer new position. So this year going forward with City Hall for the TMP department, we need to hire a TMP director, and we need to hire an assistant director. We also need to hire the parking director, but we're not asking for that additional incremental position. We're not asking for any incremental positions in any of the departments that are in economic community development. I can't speak for the other departments, but this number would be reflective of the resources that you've had in the past.
So these city numbers, like I said, are last year, so they're just placeholder.
Yeah.
Once we get all that from the city, we drop it into city expense tab, and then it just rolls into the budget.
Right.
So the other two numbers that I owe Staffy and Rocky are the numbers that Staffy's showing you: electric, business, sewer, professional service, legal service. So we owe that to Staffy and Rocky as well. But the third number is the debt service number. So that debt service schedule is being calculated now by the comptroller's office. So we know what that debt service looks like as far as a lump sum, but we need the debt service schedule from comptrollers to be able to fill out. So those are things that we can fill out and talk to next time for the budget, but definitely we're working on them, and we will have them to Staffy and Rocky as soon as possible.
We would again drop those into another one of our tabs, and then they would run into the budget as well. So
beautiful. Yeah.
All right. So the other thing related to this is on the payroll side is down to expenses, is that Kim is the PEO who retired from the city. So we have built that into our side of the budget. So that's why you're seeing an increase for the most part.
Kim is the replacement, or Kim is the
Kim was the retired from the city.
the retiree? Right.
And one last thing too, I forgot, when we talked about the revenue side, it assumes no rate changes too. So.
Judd, did you want to comment on the rate
Right.
changes?
Yeah, we are going to talk a little bit about the revenue. I don't know. Is Judd unmuted? Judd, why don't you unmute and we can talk about the revenue. Can we talk about the revenue now?
Yep.
Anybody else have any other? Okay, let's do that. Judd, where are you, buddy?
Okay,
Hey.
I'm here. So one thing, and I brought it up last year pre-COVID, was the Webster lot. When you pull in after 6 p.m., it's a flat $3 right now. And I find, I don't know, for lack of a better term, that fee a little predatory, because I experienced it. We went to a restaurant off the Webster lot. We only stayed an hour, and I had to pay $3. And if I had known that ahead of time, I would have circled around and around looking for street parking. I think it's more consumer friendly if we just continue our $1 an hour straight through the evening, all through the day and into the evening. Stas, I don't know if you remember, but we had talked about this last fall, I think.
So we have, there's been some, Webster's always been a little challenges because of the different users in the lot.
Mm-hmm.
So, you had the movie theater, and those movie theater goers that had an agreement of a $2 rate until a certain time. And Rocky, you can correct me on the hours. But then we used to have a real big business from the restaurant bar crowd, especially really late. People would come in late. So we had a rate, I want to say it was after 10, it was, a $3 flat fee. And then we had some rate changes, which did just what Judd said, which was to just extend the daytime rate whenever somebody came in. And that was a conversation. I don't think that part ever got implemented, but
No.
last where we are now is it after 6 at 3, Rocky, or after 5?
That is correct. It is 3 after 6 p.m.
So if that's something that you guys want to see, change, let us know. We'll build that in, and we can go through it on the next budget workshop. And I don't have a strong opinion either way, or recommendation. There's no right or wrong. Just how you want to work your rate structures.
Yeah, let's work that in and take a look at what that does to our. Sorry, my pen ran out.
Unusual to have a flat rate after a certain hour in the evening, in the weekend. So if you think that you want to just reduce the flat rate, we could do that. Or if you want to just continue to, go back to kind of an hourly rate regardless of when you come in, we could do that too.
Wait.
What you guys think about it, and let us know. We can work that in. Unless you're telling us now, let's work in an hourly rate that we have during the daytime during the evening.
Hey, Stas,
Yeah.
this is Tom. Without commenting on raising or lowering that rate, what is usage like after 6 o'clock in that lot?
I'm going to defer a little bit of that to Rocky, but I think it was pre-COVID. It was pretty good for the restaurants and the movie theater.
Yes. Pre-COVID, the parking lot was pretty much busy, especially from the movie theater and the restaurant, the surrounding restaurants. But after COVID, the parking lot has been pretty much empty after 6 p.m.
Yeah, I mean, my experience pre-COVID is, at Friday, Saturday nights, it would be Thursday nights, maybe 70% capacity,
Okay.
Right.
for the majority of the night.
Okay. Curious.
Yep.
Well, let's see what that'll do. I mean, tell Rocky, how do we have it? How do we have it being charged right now at Webster Lot?
It is hourly at $1 an hour until 6 p.m. And then
Yeah.
if you come after 6 p.m., it's a flat $3. And I like the idea that lowering the rate would be much effective, because with most of the complaints that we're going to get if we change the rate, that the unintended consequence will be movie theater people going to the movie, spending 2 hours of watch a movie and going to the dinner and staying more another an hour and a half. That will cost. I'll put them into a $4 or $5 charge. So that might be a complaint that we might be getting from the movie theater customers.
Yeah, I was gonna say, because if you, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was gonna ask Rocky what didn't the movie theater rate, is this because we were matching the movie theater rate? Because it
Right.
was $2 once and now it's up to $3, right?
Correct. The movie theater rate. Yep. That rate is for the movie theater.
So I think it was an effort to just simplify that operation for all the different user groups.
And I think, with all respect to the idea, Judd, I think we should be a little bit careful, because although you went there for less than an hour or an hour, I believe there's going to be a large percentage of people. And again, I think this entire conversation is discussing pre and post COVID. We're not talking about COVID right now. That a large percentage of the people younger than yourself will probably stay well within their $3. Will probably stay for 2 hours, which is equal to the street parking anyway, or longer. So by changing it to an hour, $1 per hour through the 6 o'clock, and just through the 6 o'clock time, we might end up actually charging people more than the $3 flat fee. So we want to be a little careful.
How about we do an analysis for the next budget workshop, and we'll look at what the pre-COVID demands were, after 6 o'clock.
Okay.
Then you guys kind of,
And will that have in it the length of stays as well?
Yeah, I think we can probably figure
it doesn't
that
really work that way in that lot, though. I guess it's what they buy.
If it's a flat fee, because it's
you're not going to know when they left.
Like a flat fee, we might not get that. If we had like sensors and stuff there, we'd probably be able to tell you that.
But we don't.
I don't know if we can.
And so after that discussion, Chad, we did ask the parking equipment provider at the Webster lot if there is a second option where someone that's staying an hour in the parking lot can actually choose, having two different rates. Someone staying longer than the 3 hours or the 2 hours can pay that flat fee, and then someone's wanting to stay just for an hour to be able to pay just the $1 rate. So they were working on the programming, so that might be an option that we could implement at the Webster lot.
Okay, yeah, I was going to say that maybe it could be $1 an hour and max out at $3 max after 6 p.m. So that would allow someone who wants to go in for an hour or two to pay $2, but if they're staying more than that, they're not going to pay more than $3, and that would be encourage people, I think.
Yeah.
Does that make sense, Rocky?
Yeah.
Yes, yeah. Makes sense.
I think We'll get the data. We'll also check on changing the rate structure and see how we can do that, and then report back.
Okay.
Rocky, well, Stothy and Rocky. So the first two lines, monthly and transit, is monthly are the passes and the commuters, basically all the monthly passes, and then does that make transient all the street parking? Is that how it's broken?
So monthly are the permit parkers, people that pay
Right.
For the month. Transient parkers are all other parkers that are paying, in the lot or on street by the hour or the flat fee.
Do we have the streets broken out at all somewhere?
Yes.
Not in, well, I'm sorry, I could correct myself. Not on the streets. This is just in the lots. On the streets is the meter revenue.
Ah, that's what I was thinking. So the meters are on the streets.
Yep, and that includes Wall Street area too.
Including Wall Street. And so the transients are lots and everybody not paying monthly. And then the meters are just street parking, basically the parallel and the back end parking.
Exactly.
Okay. Interesting. Okay.
All
I'm
right.
wondering,
Anything else on that?
I'm wondering if we want to keep the monthly number flat. We have an increase of 1.36%, and I'm wondering if the monthly,
So that was based on
the tax.
things that we had were on the sales tax. Remember that?
Okay,
Yeah, so that's where that came from.
got it.
And the assumption of I think the same number of permits being sold or very close to it, right, Rocky?
Correct, except we reduced the permit parking at the Webster lot and the Maritime Garage what we're doing currently. So all the others remain consistent. We expect it to remain consistent, but Webster lot and Maritime Garage, we expect a reduction in permit revenue.
So let me ask you this. Is there a chance, or would you be able to take all of the meter revenue and show me for the past year, geez, for COVID, damn it, show me what that number would look like if all the meters were $1 an hour, which means places like Liberty Square would go up and Wall Street would go up, but Washington would come down. It might not be possible to do, but is it something?
So reducing Sono from 150 to 1 and increasing the Wall Street district to $1?
Yeah, the idea is a simplifying idea that everything on the street, everything meters is $1. And what happens to that number? So I can't even guess what would happen to that number.
Yeah, we can certainly do that analysis with pretty good accuracy based on the number of transactions and the average stays. The only thing I'd say about that is they are two different districts with two different kind of economic zones.
Yeah.
And I think the rates right now kind of reflect that. You see higher rates in Sono as you do in Wall Street. So if it's for consistency, I understand it. But there's not necessarily anything bad about keeping them separate. There's a lot of a lot of districts and municipalities that have different rates depending on demands across different streets. Either they're short term or some are long term.
So then let's do two. I'm building a narrative. I've been building a narrative around simplification, which I actually kind of like. But let's try that. Show me what it looks like with $1 across the board, and then do another line where Sono doesn't change. No, that's not true. Do another line where the 50 cents doesn't change for Wall Street, and because we know that you know, that area we're trying to push up a little bit and get some more activity into, but we knock all the $1.50s down to $1. That's
Mike,
going to reduce it.
Analysis A, all
if
on street at $1 an hour, and B is going to be Sono $1 an hour, and Wall Street stays the same.
Yeah, Wall Street. I think Liberty Square. Where else do we have it? The 50-cent rate. I think that's it, right?
Mike,
Yeah.
just if we lower the street rate in Sono to the same price as the surface lots, then there isn't a whole lot of motivation for turnover on the street. And, you know, I understand the idea of simplification, but right now with like the Webster lot is basically $1 an hour. So if you're looking for economical parking and you don't mind walking a bit, you're going to go park there. But if the streets and the surface lots are all the same, I think you're going to have two things. You're going to have less turnover, and we're going to have more traffic congestion, you know, without COVID, of course, because you're going to have people circling the blocks looking for that desirable street parking.
Right.
So,
And I think to some extent that's okay. I'm not so sure. You know, I don't believe the vast majority of people are really looking at a less expensive parking place. I think they're just looking to park their car where they want to park it.
right.
And they're going to go, you know, if they want the Webster lot, damn it, they're going to the Webster lot. If they want to get in front of Match, or they want to get in front of one of their restaurants, they're going to do their damnedest. And I would be shocked to hear that most of them even knew that the difference was 50 cents one way or another. I just think for this simplicity and this little thing that I'm working on to try to even everything out, I think it's a good experiment. I just like to see what would happen to the numbers, because that plays a big part in it. You know, we can't really lose too much revenue here. And at the same time, we don't need a lot more revenue at the moment. So we're trying to keep it somewhat similar. I'm hoping it doesn't change too much, but anyway, I'd like to take a look at it.
Okay.
Okay.
So we'll do those two scenarios, and then you guys can decide what you want to do.
Okay, cool.
All right. Anything else on revenue?
I have a question for the rest of the board. Right now, Wall Street area starts at 9 a.m. And Mike, maybe this ties into your simplifying things. Do we want to take Sono to start at 9 a.m.? Because right now it starts at 8.
Well, that would work into my simplification thought.
Yeah. We make the whole, all the street parking at 9 a.m.
Are we starting the enforcement at 9 a.m. then instead of 8?
Yeah. Yep. I mean, that's what we do in Wall Street now, right, Rocky?
Wall Street would start at 9 a.m., correct?
Yeah. Yeah.
Was there a reason? Is there a reason why not to do that?
I don't think we saw it. I mean, it's a little hard to judge on Wall Street because of the virus had such a huge impact on things. But
Yeah.
I think we started January 1st in Wall Street with that. And, you know, I haven't heard of any negative aspects of it.
Well, there's nobody parking there at 8.
Right.
Well, and at least, you know, I mean, if you look at the COVID environment, it makes things a bit more friendly. I mean, there's not a lot of people parking anyway, but it does bring the whole system together a little more.
I think the reason why we had talked about doing it in Wall Street versus doing it in Sono is that in Wall Street, there wasn't the residential density that there was along Washington and in Sono. So I think that Staffy and Rocky had pointed out that there may be some unintended consequences with people parking overnight and then leaving their car until 9 o'clock in the morning and not moving it versus having to move it earlier. So I think that's why we had said that we would try it Wall Street first. And that if we saw that it was working well in Wall Street, then we could try it along North Main and South Main in Sono, and then possibly along Washington. That's what I remember of the conversation.
Yep.
I think that's right.
I think you're right, Jess.
Okay.
So do we want to look at the number for that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
We'll look
What
at the-
impact that would have on us, Stati, if we, right.
At the meters at 9 a.m.
Was it something about the residents coming and going in the morning? I can't remember. All right, we'll take a look.
It was, I mean, I'm the one who pushed it because I just didn't see a lot of people parking until 10 a.m. I mean, there's virtually no retail in either district anymore. I mean, that opens up, you know, I think that 8 a.m. parking is left over from 50 years ago when there was retail in those areas, but it's pretty much all gone. So
I do agree with Stati. It's going to be a V recovery.
It's going to be what?
Hope a V-shaped recovery. So hopefully it comes right back. Okay. Anything else on revenue? Jess, do you have anything on revenue? She muted.
No,
Tom?
I don't. I just, I'm a little more, I feel like the monthly number is very optimistic. I'm a little worried about that, but I think we can go with what we think is right and based on what we think we'll see, and we can be flexible moving forward. But it makes me a little bit nervous that we're flatlining that. I think that there will be an impact over time. And now in saying that, there's a wait list for the monthly permits for some of the stations and some of the lots. So maybe even if we see a decrease in the number of parkers, the wait list will actually bump that back up. So maybe that's an assumption that was taken, but that's the only thing that I can flag on the revenue side.
You know, it's a good point. We also have to take into account the possibility that we strike a deal with Mike Oz, which lowers his monthly costs a bit. That's not in here, right?
No, that's not. No.
All right. Then why don't we send Stati and Rocky the current negotiation? We're still in negotiation with him. We're still talking to him, but we send them the current negotiation idea and plug that in.
You think that's going to look lower than it is now? Then we can build it in. And
it is, because we're giving him. We've offered him a $5 rebate on his both monthly and transit, and it's, you know, it's substantial, right?
Yeah, it ends up being 386 parking spaces.
Yeah. So we should take a look at that.
Okay, so we'll get that from you then. Needs to be worked in. That could be substantially lower.
Yeah. Okay. What's next? Do you want to keep going over the expenses, gentlemen?
Yep.
But can I make one comment on the revenue?
Yeah.
Just run it through the spell check. In a couple of spots, it talks about, instead of ticket revenue or ticket issuance, it's tricket issuance. It doesn't seem like a really smart thing to put in a public budget.
Noted. Oh,
Great catch, Tom.
I thought it was kind of humorous, actually.
That's good. I love it. It's
Like
very
the old
specific.
South Norwalk.
Yeah.
I have to make sure you're actually reading this stuff, Tom.
Nice.
Okay. So that's fine. All right. So we got that. All right. So the last piece of that revenue was we'll look at it and see if it's too aggressive. And then we get the deal terms with my guys or what it could be. We'll work that in as well.
Okay.
So on the expense side, what Jess already alluded to on the payroll side was that we're anticipating filling that position that was vacated by Kim's retirement. So that shows up on this expense side, on our expense side. The city expense side, this number will change depending on what Justin decides to do on the city side. Other positions. So we'll hit the highlights of the ones that we think that are going to have the biggest variances or are that going to be notable. On the vehicle expense, that's going to be down based on where we think our rolling stock's going to be. We had compared to actual last year, it's up, I think, and I forgot why. Did we defer something, Rocky?
Yes, we deferred the purchase of the vehicle.
Because of COVID and trying to keep those expenses down. So we're going to have to get back to kind of our rolling stock replacement plan. So years ago, what we did was we looked at all the vehicles and we looked at the cost of maintenance and looked at how do we replace our vehicles on a program basis to maximize kind of the use out of them. Because they're taking, a beating, they have a lot of miles. What our program basically is that every year we usually replace a vehicle. We take it out of commission because at that point, our analysis showed at the time that we started the program that by the fifth year, that's when the cost of maintenance seemed to be as high, if not higher than the cost of replacing it. And that doesn't factor in also, the downtime and the inconvenience and the inability to service certain things that we need having an operable vehicle. So that number is going to reflect, another vehicle.
Stath, who repairs our vehicles? Does the city garage repair our vehicles, or do we do that on our own?
There's a mechanic on Vanzen Street that we take it
Yeah.
That's where all the vehicles they get service.
Outside the cities. Okay.
That is correct. He's the vendor for the city of Norwalk as well.
Oh, okay.
But we deal with him directly.
Who is that, Rocky?
Tom. It's on Vanzen Street. His name is Tom.
What's the name of the shop?
I forgot the name of the shop. I'll shoot you an email with the name of the shop.
Okay.
But it's on Vanzen Street all the way to at the end. But I'll shoot you the name of the shop.
Okay.
Steffi, how old is the oldest vehicle that you guys have? So I understand that you guys are doing the fleet replacement program, but what does your roster of vehicles look like currently, and what is the oldest vehicle that you have?
I can answer that one.
The oldest that we have, Jess, is a 2010 Ford pickup, but it has very little mileage. That's why we kept it this long, and it's in a good condition. That's why we never replaced it.
But usually it's like every 5 years.
Every 5 years, correct.
The vehicle that's now 2015 could be the one that's going to come off line. because we're using those for plowing. They're being used every day. So there's a lot of miles on it. But I think, Rocky's on a good point that if it doesn't need to be replaced, we won't. But it's a good, for budgeting purposes, it's a good program to replace these vehicles methodically within the budget. So you're not keeping them for, an extended period that you really shouldn't be. And then all of a sudden,
Sure.
we need to replace like 3 vehicles.
And how many vehicles do we have in total?
Gotta look at the inventory, Captain Mike. I don't
Oh, all
have
right. What do you know how many are coming due? Or I'm sure there's probably
one is due. The 2010 one, we don't plan to change it because it hasn't had any maintenance issues.
okay.
But 2014, we have one that we need to be replaced.
Okay.
It's probably, if I'm guessing, we probably have like, I don't know, 5 vehicles.
We're breaking up.
Are we still using that little electric 3-wheeler?
We have it. We use it on when we patrol the garages. But recently we haven't been using it because of COVID. No garage has been,
No need. Yeah, it's a bit of use, of course. Okay.
And that's at the railroad station.
Correct.
Right. Okay, moving on. So building and property repair and maintenance, that's always a very large item for us. And that is kind of our placeholder for, and what we use this line item for is doing as much work as we can to all the facilities. And that's the one that seems to fluctuate the most depending on how we're doing financially. So when we look at the budget and we look at the fund balance and where this body wants that to end up, we make kind of the appropriate adjustment to this line item. So there's some things that maybe we would like to do that maybe we just push off for the following year. So this year we tried to defer as much as we could since COVID hit, but we've always had at least 500,000 in the budget there. One year we spent I think it was like $1 million because we had some repairs to Haviland and some other facilities. So this line item is kind of a one that we.
But that's also all those dozens and dozens of little repairs that and things that don't show up in our capital budget. They're not.
Right.
They're just stuff that has to get done and fixed.
Like line strike,
Safety.
example, we do every year. This year we didn't do it. So we're going to do that again. Maybe it's power washing or landscape repairs or beautification, paving, small potholes.
Yeah, because I think we do have something in the capital budget for the touchless pay service application that we may or may not try to get to. That's not part of that number.
Right.
That's capital. Okay.
So that's where that line item is. Snow removal. Last year we were really lucky. We always budget around 200, 275-ish because we just don't know what's going to happen. But it's kind of been, a good number for us to keep in the budget, just like we always try to keep 500 in repair and maintenance. We've been as high as 450 in snow removal, and this past year we were at 78. So we feel comfortable with that number, but that's your call if you ultimately want to change that. Signage is down from last year's budget. We had some money in there for in this fiscal year, so we didn't need to keep a higher budget.
Yeah.
What would happen if that went back down to fiscal year 20 numbers? I mean, it was down at 25,000, went up to 100. Is that something we could? I'm assuming this is for sign replacement.
Yeah, it's for signage replacement. I mean, usually it's just typical signage replacement. But sometimes there's projects that, that you guys approve that require some signage changes. So we try to keep something in there for that.
Do you think that number is going to be affected as they start to work on the bridge and
Good question.
the projects down there where they're going to take our North Water Street lot and things where we're going to need to step that up a little and direct people in other places and stuff. I don't even know. Honestly, I don't even know if the bridge project will be started by then, but.
Not this year, Mike. It's Vanessa here. So,
Well, this is 2022 budget. Hi, Vanessa.
yeah, hi. So if most of the signage, what happened is that when we're doing any major construction in the garage, we need to put a lot of signs out to direct the people and tell them that they are closed. And unfortunately, most of the time we cannot recycle those signs because they are very specific to what we are doing. I think that we should keep the number the way it is, if possible, because we are supposed to do this major project in the summer at South Norwalk Garage, and that may need a lot of moving parts to get the people up and down if we're back to normal business by then. The North Water may have some closures, but just for a few days. We can try to ask the contractor for DOT to put those signage up. But maybe you also want to add something like, okay, this parking lot, they may say this parking lot is closed, but then the parking authority would like to add another sign saying park at the Maritime Aquarium, that kind of thing.
Right. Okay.
So let's see, tickets, so we're replacing stock, every year. Liability insurance is really just a function of revenue, so that will go up and down with revenue. What else do we have? I have a big variance. Telephone, data communication. Actually, I forgot what this one. This one we had the business intelligence tool on there, and that dashboard was built in, right?
Mm-hmm.
Credit card fees is another one, function of revenue. Permit violation management, that's the LPR and enforcement program. Some of it's, some of that is collections costs from Duncan. So it's possible that this may be a little overstated. So maybe have to look a little closer into that one. Marketing communication. That's the site mainly. Website maintenance, and any other marketing programs that we've been involved with. The capital reserve and replacement, that's something that we've had as a placeholder for several years now. That was in response to the condition assessments that Desmond did, and they had, as part of their engagement, a table of repairs and maintenance that should be done in the future and future programming, and they have recommended maintaining a repair and replacement reserve fund for future, repairs. So we started doing that. I forgot what kind of the threshold or what the test was, but it was, keeping a certain percentage of the budget in this fund. So, we've been doing that. Parking programs is something that you may want to discussed, this is where we had the Norwalk now contract, the Rocky was in this line.
That is correct.
So
Right,
now,
and that's the $100,000 that's involved with the new contract that Eric and Jess and her team are implementing right now. And the conversation I had around that money was, basically as long as Eric is involved in the process and has our has our interest in mind and is pushing it forward like that we leave it in the budget for a discussion for the future years, because we don't want to lose the program, as of right now. We want to continue it, so we've left it in there.
yeah, so we just want to make sure that number is the right number, that's all.
Yeah.
Then we talked about the city expenses already. And
Right.
For this. So at the end of the day, the fund balance, or capital outlay,
Yeah.
or net operating income, whatever you wanted to call it, for fiscal year 2022 is 83,000.
Is that the capital outlay is our fund balance? No.
Yeah.
Oh. Okay. Okay. Questions, comments, thoughts, considerations?
Not right now.
We've given Laz a few tasks to play with the numbers a little bit. Jess, do you have anything else you want to discuss at this time?
No, we not as far as operating goes. If you want, we can talk really quickly about capital, or we can talk tomorrow evening about capital. But
no, we can do capital now.
I got to duck out, but you can talk about capital all you want.
Thanks, Tom.
My pleasure. But I'll
right.
see you tomorrow, one way or the other.
All right. Thanks for your time. I appreciate it.
Okay, guys. Take care.
All right. Take care.
Thanks.
Thank you.
So I met with Mike and Vanessa to look at the capital improvement projects for fiscal years moving forward. And I asked Vanessa to join tonight's call so she could walk through the parking garage number and just give a little bit of background on where we are with that. Vanessa, do you mind doing that?
Not at all.
Okay,
So I'm going to bring this up on the screen, or did somebody bring it up?
So I'm just going to turn my video off because the office sometimes doesn't have a bad Wi-Fi if I have the video off. Okay. So for the P1, that is the parking garage, is all the maintenance and all the capital improvements that we do throughout all the garages and the lots. What we do, we come up with those numbers based on the Desmond 5-year report forecast on all the maintenance repair that we should be doing. But what we decided to do this year is that we're going to push that maintenance 1 year on. And the true reason behind is that we still have a lot of funds from last year that hasn't been used. We have over $1 million still that hasn't been spent due to the delays that we got in a lot of those projects to be designed and bid. So that's why we thought that would be better to try to get these projects that was supposed to happen this past 6 months and this spring happening throughout this year. And then moving forward on 22, 23, get back to our 5-year forecast. I don't think there will be any major impact on the maintenance of the garage. I think that we are in a very, very good shape. The next big project that we're going to do is the caulking on the exterior of the South Norwalk garage that we're hoping to get it done this summer. And then maybe we'll replace one of the machine elevators also at South Norwalk. But besides that, I think that we have even some leftover fund if something comes up that is critical that we could address this year. Do you want that I go? Does anybody have any questions about the garage?
No, I think that's fine. And we do have 175 in the capital, not in the capital budget, in the operating budget for repairs and things.
Yeah, that money really runs quick.
Yes.
Because like they last pay a lot of bills from that money. So let's say if we have an issue with, I don't know, the Wi-Fi is not working on the conference room, we need to run another wire to that. So that where that money will come from. But in general, we try to use for everything that will be an improvement to the life of the garages or the lot, we use that money. But we truly have enough funds that I think that we don't need to request more. I don't know if you guys want that I explain a little bit of P2 or that's it.
Yeah, go ahead.
So the revenue control equipment is also another item that we have separately on the capital, and this only addresses all the equipment that is needed. So this year, we're keeping the $200,000 because due to the COVID, we may need to implement some touchless equipment throughout the city. So that's what that money will be for.
Right.
And then I think the other numbers were pretty much basic on what we had. We usually it's about that kind of number that we have. Sometimes if we have a major project going in some area, or if we want to upgrade the base stations, we try to use that money. But I think that for this year, the main thing is to see if we can upgrade the base stations to touchless.
Right.
Then residential parking permits. Actually, there is no money that will be requested, so it's a blank item for this one. And the parking wayfinding signage, Jessica, the one that I continue, or would you like to talk a little bit about it?
Yeah.
No, you go ahead. That's fine. I can add something in if
Okay, so the wayfinding signage is one thing. Actually, we're carrying that money in there, and I have just a little bit inside the capital money for the following years. This is something that really needs to be seen throughout the city, and it probably during the walk bridge and even after, we should really have a lot of signage there so we be able to locate our garage. So the idea is that now with the new director of transportation coming in, one of his focus will be to work on the wayfinding throughout the city for the parking authority.
Okay.
Thanks, Vanessa.
Have we shown this capital budget to anyone, Jess? No.
We've shown it to the finance department, and planning is included in those meetings because of the planning commission and the POCD, linking the efforts to the POCD, but they have not been shared. This is the first time that they'll be shared more openly.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Great. So that's both the operating and the capital. Is there anything else for today? Stoth, Rock, you guys got anything?
Stat, you want to talk about it?
I don't have any questions. We got our list of things, action items, Webster lot. We're going to see what the COVID demands were after 6 o'clock. And if we can program a rate after 6, that's $1 an hour, max of 3. On the meters, we'll do a couple scenarios of what the impact is if all on-street meters, Sono and Wall Street, are at $1 an hour, and another one where just Sono's $1 an hour and keep Wall at 50 cents an hour. And on Sono area on street, We'll look at starting operating hours at 9 a.m. and what that impact could be. And then on the monthly revenue side, as soon as we have some details on the deal with Mike Oz, we'll build that into the monthly revenue part of the budget, because maybe it's a little too aggressive now.
Okay, cool. For Laz, is there anything in the coming fiscal year that you guys see that we're going to need to spend on, or any personnel or equipment or anything that is going to come that we haven't discussed?
Yeah, I'll yield to Rocky on that. If there's anything you think operationally on a wish list.
Do you have a wish list, Rocky? Do you want to raise? What do we put? Now's your chance. Get it in the budget. Let's see if we can squeeze it in, baby.
No, I'm good. Yeah.
Equipment wise or anything. I mean, replace the truck. We get that, but I do. I mean, I see the sweepers around. I had this discussion with one of my big contracts for plowing. They tried to, they wanted to cut the plowing in half this year, because the trend over the last few years has been less and less snow, or not a lot of snow. But what they came to the conclusion to leave it alone, as we did, because as you replace not plowing, you add salting. I mean, it really is very symbiotic, where the storms may not build up a lot of snow, but the ice is incredible. So that keeps that budget up there, unfortunately.
As you know, right? And when you don't have to plow and you can do an application, that's a lot better for you.
Absolutely. But you guys, we used to do the wet, the spray. We're not doing that anymore, but we will be doing salting of all of our facilities. So that falls under that line, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
I mean, the one thing we've always had our contracts that have been, basically by the storm, right, Rocky?
Yeah.
I don't think we've really done. Have you done seasonal contracts before?
Stat, there was a background noise. I didn't hear you clearly.
Oh, I was saying that usually our agreements for snow are by the storm per inch.
That is correct. It is by the storm. It's not a
So
flat.
we really haven't done many seasonal deals, which, sometimes a good thing for the budget as far as consistency year over year, but you can't really gamble with it. If you're going to stick with it, then you do that for a long time, so it smooths out.
Right.
But, so far it's kind of worked for us. So there haven't been, we haven't gone down that road unless you want us to.
No, and I'd rather have it in there and not use it than wish we did have it. So
Yeah.
Absolutely. Jess?
Just a quick question, Staffy and Rocky, for the operating budget, we pay the curator for the Maritime Garage 4 times a year. We pay them $700 to go out and create the idea for the exhibit and then curate the artwork for that exhibit and then manage the social media. What line item is that $2,800 included in?
The expense that we pay for the curator is under operating expense line item, Jess, but it also covers when the art people bring in their art they pay $35 for their art to be displayed. So that kind of washes off, and it's not really an expense, but it actually hit our operating expense.
So which line item in the operating is that covered under? Because I saw the art program is $1,200, but is it under parking program, which is $100,000? I don't know which line item in the operating that's covered under, and I want to make sure that we include it.
Sure, it is in the operating budget, but there's also a line item that says operating expenses in the financial statement. That's where it's being allocated. Jess, I don't know if I answered that question.
One of the statements, Rocky, or the budget?
It is under, in the operating expense line item. that 125,000.
That's, and what's in this line?
Oh, I see. Okay. I understand.
It's minimal, so we put it under the operating expense, what we pay for the curator, but it offsets some revenue that we collect from.
Got it. And the line item is actually called operating expense.
That is-
Got it. Okay.
Yeah,
It's like, no, I get that it's in the operating under expense, but which line item is under, not really realizing it was called operating expense. Okay, perfect.
This line, so this item on the revenue side is the fee from the artist.
That's
Yeah.
the fee from the artist plus whatever revenue we generate when they sell their art.
Got it.
Piece.
Okay, thanks, guys. Sorry about that.
No
Just
problem.
It popped in my mind.
No problem. Hey,
Looking at the barriers along Washington and the artwork.
Jess, for tomorrow's agenda, do you have a line item for the maritime conversation that they started with us, the maritime aquarium conversation that they started with us?
No, I do not, but we could update the agenda and repost it. So we posted the agenda at like 3:30 this.
Yeah, no. I'll put it under the chairman's notes.
Okay, great. That would be good.
Yeah,
Thank
we'll just leave it. We'll talk about that with it. Okay, good. All right. Hi, Darlene. That's all I got. Anybody else? I mean, we'll see you tomorrow night. Yes?
So the ops report is probably going to come pretty late. So I'm going to be working on that, all night. So.
Okay, so just to let everybody know, we posted the agenda with the financial report, but the operating report, Staffy and Rocky are still working on it. So we will have that ready for the meeting tomorrow evening, and it'll be part of the packet. But what's posted, what has been given to you so far is the agenda and the financial report, the transient ratio, the ticket information, but the operating piece needs to still be delivered. But we'll deliver that to you before 6 o'clock tomorrow, and we'll be sure to walk through it tomorrow at 6.
And are the minutes from the last meeting in the things you sent
Packet
us?
as well. Yep.
Okay.
That's in what you got as well.
That's good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Good.
Yes, I have one last thing for you before we get off. And maybe this is something we want to talk about offline.
I think, Staffy, it's probably we want to talk about it offline.
So can we stay on?
We cannot. We have to
Yeah, no.
stop the video.
We need to stop the video, and then maybe you and we can have an offline phone call after that. Perfect.
Let's make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second
Judd?
that.
Excellent.
There's only 2 of us.
So moved. We are adjourned.
Okay.
Thanks, everybody.
See you all
Thanks so
tomorrow.
much for taking the time.
All right. Thank
Okay.
you. Good
Thank
night.
you.